Coming to you talking about, what are we talking about today? We're talking about the matrix, man. Be the one. Talking about be the system, okay? Embrace the matrix. You know, look, every day, if you don't have a system for how you're doing things, you're reinventing the wheel every single time you go at it. You may get really good at how you do it, but what you're doing is you're laying down a system. It may not be a written system, but it's a rehearsed system. So what you have to do is write it down. Write down the steps. Work through it in your head. If you're not good at it, get somebody else to do it for you, to shadow you to do it, okay? It's not a bad idea. Get a consulting firm to come in. You can do it without that much coin, okay? And it'll be well worth your while to do it. What I'm talking about, and I'm here with my boy Robert. What's up, Robert?
Hey, how's it going?
We're working on the Rockstar Lawyer book, and we're talking about systems, and I just have to blab about it for a little bit. So E-Myth Attorney. The whole E-Myth series is very good. It's getting a little age on it, but it's still very, very relevant. And it's about breaking everything down into systems. E-Myth Attorney is great. Why most legal practices don't work and what to do about them, by Michael E. Gerber. And then there's a couple of attorneys, Robert Armstrong and Sanford Fisk, that worked on the book with him. They were estate planning attorneys, oddly enough, okay, and worked on breaking down everything they did into systems. We're gonna touch on this. Certainly not as in depth as the E-Myth, okay, but it's an easy read, man. It's not that thick. It's a bedside table book, you know. So let's talk about how to build a scalable firm. First, what are your goals? You need to identify your goals with the practice. Are you just going to work until you kill over and die and be the only attorney in the firm? Do you want a 100-person firm? Do you want a solo practice, a 100-person firm, or somewhere in between? Do you want to build a scalable, sellable model? Do you want to run this thing until you're nationwide, international, multiple offices all over the world, all over the United States? Whatever you can imagine you can do, especially if you boil everything down to systems. I like to say that here at McIntyre Elder Law, we're getting our cookie recipe correct before we go bake somewhere else or go take it on the road, okay? And that's exactly what we do, is we make sure we have everything right here in the lab, and then we know it's replicatable somewhere else, okay? So just looking visually at some examples, the STAR model, and my buddy, look, I'm fudging now. My friend, I'd like to consider him a friend, mentor. I speak to him occasionally about law and business. Bob Crumley, who's built one of the biggest practices that I've ever seen, and talks to me every once in a while about what to do. You know, he would tell you the STAR model law firm is broken, that it's just not how to build a scalable firm. It's a traditional firm, very much like I've drawn there, where you see one attorney and one paralegal. And when you grow an attorney and paralegal, that's what you do. You replicate that over and over again. Imagine a hospital that every time you added a doctor, you had to add another nurse, okay? So you had one doctor and one nurse ratio, or two at the max, okay? In a traditional law firm. And that's how you grew it. That would be ridiculous. That would be nigh impossible, okay? So let's imagine another way to grow it. Well, just piggybacking or staying with that hospital theme and that hospital model. Hospitals have nurses. They have head nurses. They have intake people. They have billing. They have broken the practice of medicine down into systems, and that's how they deliver care to an entire large community. 10 doctors, can facilitate maybe maybe not 10, maybe more than 10, but you get the point. You're making your rounds, and really the doctors end up kind of working for the head nurses who are in charge of making sure their patients get taken care of, both by the doctors making the rounds and getting questions answered and diagnoses and medication issues straightened out. And I was messing with my hair there. It's got some funky hair going on. But this lady the other day did my hair. Best haircut she ever gave in her entire life. Had no confidence going in, but I talked her through it. And so you have, for instance, an attorney here, and then you have maybe 3 departments like we do, and 3 head nurses or case managers, and then you have admin assistants, admin assist underneath there, and you break out the attorney's expertise. The attorney becomes a slave to, or responsible to answer to the case managers and respond and take care of the good attorney, take care of the case managers. That's how a firm should be set up to scale and grow. What would happen if, say, we had an influx in this department of cases? Then we would add maybe other admin assist. When it stressed the system too much, maybe add another case manager and break off a couple of admin personnel. So that's how you can grow. Until the attorney you need to add another attorney. And that's what we're working on doing, is growing that entire system and then adding another attorney, replacing me, so that I can be, because if you're going to grow the firm, you can't be it now. You've got to be everything now. You have got to wear all the hats until you can start taking them off. And you need to strive to do that as quickly as possible so you can grow and have enough money and resources to hire people to replace parts of you and delegate parts of you and your job duties out to other people like case managers and admin assistants. And then potentially another attorney that can help replace you in the office so that you become the CEO, the salesperson, the driver of new business, the visionary of the firm. That's the whole point of creating. That's a system. That's an overall model to grow the firm. Just know that. Say it. Repeat it. Write it down. Draw it out like I did. So you get it in your head, okay? And you start working it that way. eMyth Attorney, that's what it talks about. Love that. I've got it kind of ingrained into my DNA at this point. The eMyth system. eMyth. Robert, you said you wanted to watch eMyth Revisited. I want to say I've either read that one or listened to the audiobook too, but it's very similar. Just overall, this just applies it directly to a law firm. So beneficial for any business person out there. And it's about doing just that. And just re-examining over and over what the attorney needs to be involved in. Do you need to be signing healthcare powers of attorney, general durable powers of attorney, living wills, even wills, or can you break that out to an administrative assistant position? Well, eMyth would tell you that it needs to be broken out into an admin position job. Bob Crumley would tell you that intake is not your job; it is someone else's job, extracting information. Okay, so listen to the experts out there and grow your firm that way. I didn't believe that it would be wise to ever allow an admin person to do signings for wills, foundational documents. It's an awesome idea. And once you get somebody who likes to do it, they do a better job at it than you do. Much better. So, another Crumleyism, okay? Bob's going to call me up and be like, Greg, what are you talking about? The Crumleyism. You're making up things off my name. So call me, Bob, 704-751-8031. Love you, man. Throw away all your legal pads. This is, like many things in my life, a conundrum or an oxymoron, okay? Because I wrote this on a legal pad, and I like to write things out. But what he said he used to be notorious at his firm, Crumley Law Firm, now Crumley Roberts, and going around and throwing away all the legal pads in the firm. So why would he do that? And he said you weren't getting it back. You wasn't holding it for ransom. He was just throwing it away. He did that because he wanted everybody to use a central computer system where all the notes were taken, so that whoever picked up a file anywhere in the firm, they knew or could look at the computer system. How about didn't even have to pick up a file? Could look in the computer system and see exactly a central location where all notes were taken on the file, no matter who worked on it. That way, a case manager or an admin person could frequently contact their clients, know what they were talking about, and have very little loss of continuity between one individual or another making contact within the firm. I advocate using ready-made systems. Don't build your own if you don't have to. Find a system that works for you or that's close to what you need. Buy it, lease it, pay monthly payments for it, use it. It will make you more money than you pay if you use it correctly. And commit to it. Make sure that the entire firm has buy-in and commits to that system. We use Total Attorneys. Lots of people like Clio, this cloud-based systems, and we max out those systems. We may outgrow those systems one day, but that's okay. We'll transfer everything over. Financials, trust accounting systems, those are extremely important. Use ready-made systems. There's one great one out there called TrustBooks that's more intuitive than QuickBooks that lets you keep everything in-house. Build to the point where you're not touching that stuff, right? You have to, again, at the beginning, and make sure you guard the trust account. But then, appoint a central person in the office for the money to go through and make sure that they're managing the trust account system. Hire an attorney on the outside, pay them a monthly fee to watch the books and make sure that they keep up with a second set of books or second eye on your books for the trust account and manage your operating account and does your taxes, okay? Don't consider it a cost to you. Forget that mentality. Stop worrying about that. Consider it an investment, period. It is an investment. Look outside. Go outside, man. Run around. Go outside of your business. Find other solutions in other businesses. Don't just look at law firms if you're a lawyer. Why would you not just look at law firms if you're a lawyer? Because the law is a stodgy, traditional, 100 years in the past profession. And you're looking to innovate. And how do you innovate in a stodgy, 100 years behind profession? Well, you go outside of the law and look at more innovative places and people. For instance, why wouldn't you use Square in your law firm? Or some type of point-of-sale system that easily allows you to take credit cards anywhere you are. If you're a courtroom attorney, you can take them at the front door. You can take them in a meeting room. You can minimize your office. If you're a huge firm, why aren't you making it as easy for your people to check out as going to a coffee shop and getting a cup of coffee? That's how easy we made it here. And we have people who go to homes and meet with clients on site, and they can do it right on their phones and put money in the Square system right away. And face it, the world's going that way. I feel the same way about that as I do about social media. Join the 3+ billion people that are using it, okay? I was looking for a way to monitor all of our cases, which is a big caseload, and to be able to scale the firm at one point. And as I was looking, I was just I could not find a platform or software package that would do that for me in the legal field. There was nothing out there. So, I had somebody question me in a morning meeting, which is fine. I invite that. This is what brought about that thought, that maybe that won't work with the law. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe you can't put it on a timeline and task line and boil everything down to a process, and which is crazy. If you can build a car with 10,000 plus parts or something, you can boil a foundations package and will all those things down to a signable task, okay? It's simple comparatively. And I say, my dad he was an engineer, and he helped build, the BMW plant one time, and lots of other facilities and things. He was industrial, he did a lot of industrial type facilities.
It's bigger problems.
So here for part two, I talked my phone to death. Okay, I had to actually go get a new phone. So part two, was talking about my dad. Dad, great man, loved Ted McIntyre to death. Civil engineer, just worked for a national engineering company. So I'm sitting there saying, you know what? If he can build, these huge buildings, and they have to scope out projects and come up with all the overhead in the project. They have to price a project just right, account for everything in building a factory. Imagine how many moving parts there are in doing that, and contractors, and what every single building piece costs ahead of time. And they have to be right because that's their margin, or else they eat into their margins and they don't make any money. And they have to go bid the job. And I was saying this at a morning meeting and saying, look, if Dad can do that, then by gosh, we can put together a system. And then it dawned on me, wow, Dad used some type of system to do that. And that was based on an engineering architecture model, okay? And then I started looking around, engineering and architecture systems models, and found one called MavenLink. There's a ton of them out there, okay? There's Basecamp, there's MavenLink, there's just a lot of them out there. And MavenLink was amazing. It had Gantt charts, Gantt, okay? Gantt charts take an ordinary old task list and lay it out on timelines, okay? So you can, and at the very top level, you can look and you can see along the line if a project's in the green, if it's gone yellow because it's several days past due, if it's gone red because it's over a week past due. So if I'm a manager, a case manager over a section in a law firm or any other business, I can see what's going wrong where. I can see what's frequently going wrong. I know where the pressure points are, where the fires are that I need to go put out. And I can see where that happens frequently and where I need to make changes in the system. And by using a system like that, by the way, it forces you to really boil down how you make a widget or deliver a service. And you write it out from beginning to end. I would say sit down. Sit down with your staff, sit down with yourself. Or have someone else do it and write out every step, every single step in the system. Write it out. And then go back and have and take it. You could put it into an Excel document, something like that, if that's what you wanted to use. I like putting it in a global software system that's going to allow me to manage not only one office but multiple offices, and not just me manage it, but allow somebody I hire, like a business or project manager, which is another engineering term, that's going to manage that system. So go outside of just your business. If that's a law firm or law practice, go outside and look at what other industries are doing. Think outside of your little box in your traditional industry and pull the best parts from other places. Look at, Demings? Use the Demings approach. We talked about Demings in the Rockstar Lawyer book, and that's what we're talking about. Look for that coming out. That's got this and a lot of other content in it. Demings talked about refining everything that comes out of your system, measuring, meeting back, going over the film on Monday morning, saying, how do we do? What went wrong? How can we refine it? Constantly getting better and better. And imagine a year after, screwing things up, 2 years, just a little bit at a time, you start doing that less and less and less. Have less and less errors. Become better and better and better. And you constantly do that and refine your systems. And then at the end, you are just the best at what you do. So we have a quality control system in our firm, and that is reviews with the client as well as internal reviews among staff members, and then a final review with the attorney before any of the work goes out. So we want to constantly keep that in place, that review in place, that quality control in place, to be able to achieve the desired product and never stop refining or striving to achieve better. Check out Gantt charts. You'll love Gantt charts. I love Gantt charts. I actually had a vision in my mind one night. Sometimes I'll dream these things. of what our systems might look like laid out in a graph format, and how it would be nice to be able to look at it and watch it go yellow or green and see exactly where it was in the process. And I looked at MavenLink and their Gantt charts, and I was like, oh, it was exactly what we needed and what we wanted. So seek and ye shall find. I really believe that. But you got to be able to conceptualize it and think about it, think outside the box, read other material from different industries and different perspectives. Magazines, I read all kind of Entrepreneur Inc. magazines all the time, and draw a ton of content from other places. So don't just mess around in your little box, man. Go steal other people's toys, okay, and bring them home. Robert, you were talking about some other things. Oh, I know what we were talking about. We're talking about hiring, okay, and how hard it is. That's an example of where you need to define systems. You need to define your job. You need to define the job that you're hiring for. You need to manage a system. E-Myth talks about that all the time. Manage the system instead of the employee. You were talking about box theory. I've got to go read that one. Okay, who wrote that one?
Ron Carroll.
Ron Carroll. I need to read box theory. Apparently it's very similar to what E-Myth's talking about with hiring and managing the system and not necessarily an employee. I was saying that I wanted self-starters, period. Steve Jobs would only hire A players. Did you know that? I mean, that was one of his big deals. He found he would only tolerate A people probably because they're the only ones who could tolerate him, okay? But by doing that, he had people who were just overachievers and self-starters, you know? You put a ton of those people on a project, and there's no way to help but get it done. It's going to get done. They're going to do it. Those people are going to carry you. My father, to speak of my father again, used to say something that I thought was ridiculous, that he would hire people that were smarter than him. That's how you needed to do it. And my dad's a pretty smart guy, okay?
That was one of Andrew Carnegie's big things. Hire the people that are most able.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're smarter than you. You know, it makes no difference.
Oh, it doesn't matter. No, because they're
surround yourself with.
They're gonna and they're gonna lift you and support you. They're gonna support you when you're not on your A game, maybe, or when when you're feeling bad, and they're gonna make you look good. Okay, they're gonna make you look good. So hire the smartest, the best, the brightest that you can.
That's right.
And I think if you can find them and afford them.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think it's even worth going and taking, biting off a little more than you think you can chew, paying a little more than you think you can for somebody like that, because I think it's an investment, not a cost, and it's going to quickly return benefits. Right. I mean, there's a perfect example of that in my office when I offered a lot more money than I was used to paying for someone. It has returned more than 10 times, probably 20, 30 times the investment, okay? When you get somebody that can bring in business, close business, besides just yourself.
What if you're bringing in a C player instead of an A? You're going to pay for it in the long run. Not immediately.
I mean, you're making me re-examine my firm right now. I'm thinking of people. Like, I got names, like I'm ranking my people, okay?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just rethinking. Like maybe we need to go back to the hiring board a little bit and replace with some A players. I mean, literally, that's what you want, okay, and that's what you're looking to build.
Yeah.
You get that going, and it's going to just take over whatever world you're operating in. You're going straight to the top.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got one of Michael Gerber's quotes up here, actually. It says, organize around business functions, not people.
What does that mean?
Well, he was saying build systems within each business function. Let the systems run the business, and people run the systems.
Let systems run the business and people run the systems.
Yeah. People come and go, but the systems remain constant.
So design the system and just hire somebody to operate the system.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good discussion. I'll take the bait. So, but you have to hire the right person to operate that system. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Not that there couldn't be
Absolutely.
more than one right person, but you need to operate a person that can operate that system.
Yeah.
And I think that's a person with high aptitude, always,
Mm-hmm.
and
Somebody who really wants to improve themselves as well.
yes, improve themselves, that are go-getters.
Mm-hmm.
So what's an A player? I'm going to do some work on my business while we do this. What's an A player?
Someone who can be relied upon to do what they're hired without anyone holding their hands. They're motivated, they're determined, they're able to progress to levels that you weren't expecting, maybe.
So motivated.
They can reach further than you would expect them to. Or
Self,
maybe as far as you would hope they would.
self-starter.
Yeah.
Motivated, self-starter. Should great with technology. That's a requirement for me.
Mm-hmm. Someone who doesn't whine.
No bitching.
Do that for you. No bitching allowed, okay? No bitches, all right? That doesn't mean no women. That means that's not a derogatory comment.
No whiners, man. You know,
Yeah.
no crybabies, dude. So, so big boys and girls, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean no young people?
No. Not necessarily.
That just means people who are tough, or who are just mature.
Yeah.
And I mean that doesn't necessarily mean years. That means maturity level, emotional maturity. I think.
Right.
What about education? How important is education? I've debated this a lot.
It's difficult, that one. I mean, I think it's important, but then in certain respects, I've worked with people who could not rise up in their business because they did not have more than a bachelor's degree. And it was wrong because they knew exactly what they were doing.
Just
They
because
were
they're
some of the best people
because
I've
their
ever
business
worked with.
was horribly set up then.
Right.
Because they were worthy of advancement.
Yeah. And it was also, it would have really helped the firm that they were working for, but they wouldn't hire them, or they wouldn't bring them up to managerial because they didn't have the university education to do it. But, you know, they knew they would be able to do it, but they still wouldn't hire them, which I didn't really understand at the time.
Because the world's gone mad, dude. Unless you go through, you know, the traditional factory education and come out the other end, then you're not fit for a job or something.
Right.
It's just horribly stupid. Anyway,
I mean, yeah, sometimes you want, you know, if you've got an airline pilot up there in the cockpit, you want them qualified, don't you? But
I mean, yeah, I guess.
but in other respects, it's not quite so important.
I mean, you want them qualified, yes. But don't you think that college sometimes, I think it screws a lot of people
I
up.
do, yeah.
I think it
absolutely.
educates them into like complacency.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen that a lot. Or you got this big name degree, you know, it's like, but you never really do anything with it, you know?
Well, let's face it, you go to university, in my bachelor's was in archaeology.
Right.
When I went into the field after that, it was basically starting again, because what I learned in university did not work in the field. In archaeology, it was basically useless. You had to start over as a field tech and learn the system that they had in the field, and it, university did not help at all with that.
Law school does not prepare you to practice law, either, by the way. You have to learn it. You get
Right.
real world application is different than theory. So,
So education, that's a tough one. I mean,
it is, I mean, it is important. It is
it is,
important.
yeah.
Very important. You got to have the framework, and that prepares you. But then after that, though, it's all about the other stuff we were talking about.
Right.
No, not being a crybaby, being a self-starter, being motivated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can combine, how about being,
Passion.
how about being, yeah, passionate?
You've got to basically love what you're doing
What
to
about,
be good at it.
what about worldly?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. That, yeah.
I only say that because I consider myself quite worldly.
Well, you've been around the world, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'm sure you have too. I know you have.
Yeah.
And what I mean is just when you travel, it's an education in itself, almost, especially if you travel by yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about going on vacation like National Lampoon's European Vacation or something. but you know, I mean, you really go somewhere for extended periods of time, other places, you know, and you just, to me, I realize, man, I'm not the center of the universe, and neither is the little bit of dirt that I grew up on, you know. There's this whole other world out there,
Yeah.
and full of other people that think a lot differently than I do, and see the world differently than I do, and that's okay, you know. And I don't know, man. It just gives you this whole other air and perspective than if you just simply roll out
I think people
a
also.
high school into a little college or a college, or even a big one, and then you get out and it's like you're just this little
People
baby.
like that, though,
You're a
who
little
have-
baby. Yeah.
who have gone around the world, they're more interesting. They've got stories of all these different places they've visited, the cultures. It's changed them in that respect.
It does.
They're
It changes you.
interesting.
It changes you. I think it makes you more tolerant. Although I can talk tough about and act stupid a lot of times. But when it comes down to it, I have this compassion, I think, and tolerance that I don't think I would have had otherwise. Okay. I'm actually writing these down and like making my hiring criteria for what an A player is. Okay, as we're going. So that's great, man. I'm firing half my staff tomorrow, and I'm rehiring A players. If you're watching, staff, I'm just kidding. So,
What about someone whose their personality fits your firm? I mean, they don't necessarily have to be an A player for that, but to have that A player, for them to fit your firm, the culture, the personality of your firm, that must be something that is somewhat important. Otherwise, they stick out like a sore thumb.
that's true.
They might not mesh with everyone at the firm.
So
very
you
easily,
want people who fit into your tribe and your culture.
Yeah.
So that could mean. That's a great point. So what he's talking about is, I mean, you know, when you bring someone into your group of friends or something like that, that just doesn't fit. Okay, they just don't belong. They stick out like a sore thumb. So for my firm, for instance, I'm pretty bold and I run really fast and just I'm high energy. So I need people around me that can keep up. Nothing annoys me more than people who kind of drag behind or who we were talking about that. Or when I have to go tell somebody the same things, man, just over and over and over and over and over again, ad nauseum, forever, and it's never going to change, and I'm always going to have to do it, and they're never going to keep up, and they're always going to have to be babysat. That's not something I'm interested in doing anymore. I've not always been that way, and I think you have to, as a a manager, you have to get there where you realize what you're worth. I think that's a big thing too.
You don't have time to do that either.
I don't have time to do that. I think you need to realize that you are worth A players working for you. You deserve it. And that's what you need to go after.
It'll help you far more in the long run anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, in an almost immediate impact is what it has. So hire A players. Hire people who are motivated, self-starters, great with technology. It's just a must now. Or great with technology. No, because those people are going to bring new technology in your firm to help you too. Okay, and not get starry-eyed looks back that say I can't do it. Okay, which is I've seen those looks. I see those looks all the time. Okay, and that annoys me too. So if you can't do it, figure it out. And I shouldn't have to tell you to go use a help file on the program to tell you exactly how to do something a lot better than I could. Okay, or Google it, man. Google it. Pretty much whatever question you have. Google it, okay? No crybabies. Whiners are out the door because they're, you know what crybabies are going to do too? They're going to infect other people. You know what? Something else I'm going to add. No negativity.
Yeah. There's always something positive you can find in any negative situation.
No negativity.
Really negativity is it's only a thought. There's nothing more than that, really. You can change that.
Okay, but I mean, isn't everything a thought?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, everything's a thought. Everything's an idea.
Yeah.
Everything. What I have here is an idea. It began with an idea and built upon with a lot of other ideas and actions behind those ideas. So the negative, man, that is totally, it's a cancer, and it grows. And you need to kill it quick.
And we have that in the book, actually. I can't remember which chapter it's in, but we do have it.
So, and I think you have to have some give in there where you try to work with people, and rehabilitate or habilitate even if you find you've got a wrong hire. But there comes a point where it's just you're wasting your time,
Right.
I think when you realize that, you have to let it go. So what was I on? No crybabies. Education. I put unimportant. I'm going to change that. Not the key factor.
Not the defining factor. Yeah.
Defining. I like that. Not the defining factor. I started to use an example and then I stopped. I thought of something, then I killed that thought. I was like, Edward Snowden. High school grad. Was he even a high school grad? I think he was a high school grad. Okay? Yeah. Then went to work as like a CIA contractor. You know what I'm saying? And doing computer stuff because he's a whiz at it. And I hear a lot of those guys are like high school grads who just come straight out programming. That's all they do, man. They're just freaking geniuses at it. But then I stopped because he disclosed all these secrets too, and then fled to Russia. So I don't know if that's the best. Ended badly, ended poorly. Maybe not the best hire for the CIA. Okay, in the end. Sorry, CIA, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just your hiring manager. So, but I mean, you get my point, right? I mean, the guy could certainly do the job, So not the defining factor. Passionate. I mean, you got to be passionate. But how do you define passion when you first meet somebody?
I think it's just the way they come off. If they're not interested in something, they're just going to be flat. It's just not going to.
I think I can smell a fake too. Like I can tell if you're just trying to fake it and force
And
it.
apparently, from what I've read, lawyers are very good at that. They will sniff out bull.
Bullshit,
very
BS.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Because, especially early on, for years, you just deal with people all the time, and sometimes a lot of lies and a lot of BS. You know what I mean? And
I'm sure it's why you hear on.
It hones your lie detector.
Police as well, that they know when you're lying.
Yeah.
They've heard it so many times that they just know.
Yeah. Perhaps. So passion, real passion. Put real / genuine passion. And then worldly. I think that helps.
I do. I do.
This really, really helps. And then, does the personality fit the firm? For my firm, I mean, it would be nice to have a lot of people with, I struggle in saying this, with my personality. It really would. Which I just mean people who are go-getters, who are getting after it, that would help me, okay?
Right.
That are there to help me and make my life easy. And, so I think they need to fit the culture. Plus, I mean, you can't be easily offended or soft around me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, would you call yourself an abrupt kind of person? You say it as it is, and some people might get offended by that. Even if it's just, this is just how it is. It's not, I'm not being personal at that person. It's just, that's how I come across.
I look at it a different way. I know what you're saying. Yes. I look at it as I'm not fake. I don't lie, generally. And I'm going to cut through the BS, and I'm going to communicate that way, okay? Directly. But there's a lot of people, oh gosh, in the South, not back on the South, I'm from the South. But, I mean, it's just a lot of fake BS a lot of times. It is.
People are so used to...
Just, oh, how are you doing? Yeah, and it's like, and it's like, man, come on. Like, even if it's, especially the passive aggressive stuff like that, I can't stand. I mean, nothing turns me off or gets my blood boiling more than somebody trying to come at me in a passive aggressive way to get me to do something.
Right.
Especially in a syrupy sweet Southern, okay, sweetheart, I'm like, you remind me of my, elementary school teacher that I didn't like, or something. And no, I'm not doing that. Or so no, I don't want any, defining. So sit and do this with yourself about your firm. Talk to a friend. Figure out what your personality is. I would not want any of those people in my firm, right?
Right.
They would not last long around me. Because, and I find myself doing this and I have to hold back. Like if I find like somebody like that, it's like a scab, I'll just pick at it, man, until it's bleeding. You know what I mean? I mean, really.
Yeah.
I will. I'll keep picking at it, even subconsciously. And I'll find myself doing it or like starting to get really hard on somebody, and then I'll just have to pull back and move on,
Right.
Because I just want to like attack that. And that's not good. I don't need that around. You know what I mean?
No.
I just want people who are self-directed, driven, positive. Well, I want to stay positive as well, yes.
Yeah.
But man, when you've got somebody who's just like, what sounds like that, weak, or just really just plays on that, makes excuses all the time. No excuses. That's a good one too. So not an excuse maker. Owns up to responsibility. Okay.
That's important.
Okay. So that's part of my personality and personality of my firm. If I could put together an entire team of people like that, that would be a very powerful team.
And one thing
I'm not there
you
yet,
brought up there,
but I'm close.
responsibility would be, for me, is if someone's made a mistake, I just want them to admit to it, not try and pass it on to someone else, or make out that it's something else. You just want them to take responsibility for it. Whatever it is, it's just easier to get it over with, and it's much easier than you can solve
That is a sign of a leader, kind of a buck stops here mentality.
Right.
That you don't point the finger at others or blame others. You realize that, really, whether you had whether it was directly your fault or not. Look, ultimately, it's my fault because I hired you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're here. breathing, okay? It's my fault, all right? It's my fault I didn't train you better, okay? It's my fault that I didn't, I don't know, motivate you. I didn't, something. Ultimately, it's my fault. But yes, to have someone who understands it's their fault and takes initiative and responsibility is exceptional, okay?
Right.
Exceptional. You know what? I think through this talk, you motivated me to maybe take a relook at my firm, at a few positions. I don't know, maybe. Seriously. So I'm actually going to forward this to my biz manager and talk to her about what we need at each position. I love this. So worldly personality that fits the firm, fits the culture, fits the tribe, man, is somebody, that compliments you. That doesn't mean everybody's got to be like you. I don't think that, okay? And I think there can be different personalities within your firm. And in fact, having complementary personalities is great. Like the DISC profiles, you'll see those, okay? Where it'll break down who does a great job at each position.
Right.
But I'm not 100% sold on those, okay? Because I've seen people that were not supposed to be in a certain position really excel at it. Well, that's good. We defined what A players are, at least for us, okay? A players may be something totally different for you, though. A players may be someone who's sweet, compassionate. We need those people, too. Sweet, compassionate, and A players can be a number of things. So that is a question. Will you get to a point in your life, in your career, where you demand only A players in your life? You tell me. What do you think an A player is? Tweet me at @LawyerGreg. Swipe and share this cast. Email us at greg@mcelderlaw.com, or just message me on Twitter. That's easy, okay? So follow us on all social media @LawyerGreg, and I'm here with Robert Ashford, the great writer and editor, well, you're like the ambassador. Aren't you the ambassador to Shelby? The British ambassador to Shelby? To North Carolina? Okay. So, anyway, I'm going to sign off. We'll be back. We'll do another one soon.